Okay, so this is just gonna be a video today.
HelloFresh has definitely saved me on more than one occasion.
And I'm not this. I like the show, but yeah. So this is, in my opinion, proof that none of these guys really think Trump is a fascist. Because like a lot of it, it's like so they're throwing bricks and like confetti and paint and some other bullshit at the officers. And like, if they were like, just some like mean police force that with whatever, right, that just wanted to do their jobs and get home at the night, sure, absolutely, that would stop them, right? But if they were fascists, they would just shoot you and you die. And if you didn't die, they would take you, put you in a camp, force you to work, and if you didn't work, they cook you in an oven. How do I know that? Because that's what they fucking did. Like, if you actually believe Trump is a fascist, you would be using guns to stop him, and you wouldn't be doing this fucking cartoon. I think it's a kid Disney Channel movie. Made for like 7-year-olds only. Like that's what these guys are acting like. That it's recess schools out, or it's like Phineas and Ferb or some shit. Okay, well, if it might be that, right? It might just be that they don't really want to hurt you, and so you're just escalating a situation that doesn't need to be escalated, and they're trying to de-escalate the situation. They're using rubber bullets because they don't want you to fucking die. They want you to just fucking stop. They see you as children throwing a tantrum is what they're basically saying to you when they use rubber bullets instead of actual bullets. That's what they're saying to you. They see you as a child throwing a temper tantrum. You should make sure that you keep it that way and stop fucking escalating, guys. Like anyone in LA, stop fucking escalating. You are just because right now they're seeing you as a child throwing a tempy tantrum. You keep going, they're not going to keep seeing it that way. And if they stop seeing it that way, bullets will fly. Now the camp thing won't happen because Trump isn't a Nazi. I don't like Trump. I'm not going to pretend that I like Trump. I think some of his policies are all right. I don't actually even agree with this shit. I think we should be mainly deporting, sex offenders and shit, and like murderers and stuff. So I don't even really necessarily agree with what's going on here. We don't really have actual evidence that these are gang leaders and all that. What I see is just a bunch of retards being retarded, and most of these people aren't even undocumented immigrants. Some of these people aren't even immigrants. A lot of these people are just fucking like citizens of the United States. So that's like even the worst part, right? Like a lot of these people are white guys who were born here. A lot of people aren't even fucking Hispanic. Um, and yeah, it's like, why are you, like why are you just dealing this kind of thing if you think they're fascist? Because like if they really, because I'm just be honest, if they really thought they were fascist, they would be using Uzis because they have guns. A lot of these people do have guns, despite what people might think. The left has a lot of guns. A lot of these people have a lot of guns. So it's not that they don't have guns. It's not that they can't use guns. It's that they're not trying to do some fucking Looney Tune shit because they think like, oh well, we're gonna try to say we were throwing bricks at them, so it's not as violent as it using a gun. Like, sure, buddy, sure. Well, what's gonna happen is a lot of these people are gonna go to prison. Um, and anyone who has a legal status that wouldn't have been detained otherwise are going to go to prison as well and get deported. You're accelerating the problem. And if Trump was a fascist secretly playing 40 chess, guess what? You played right into his hand. Now, I don't think he is. I think he's just trying to calm this fucking situation down. I don't think he is. I do think, however, some shit with Elon Musk and Palantir is fucked up. I don't really, like I said, I don't really like Trump. I think a lot of his policies have actually pushed, outside of the trans policies, I think he's pushed the country more left wing, if anything. And people say he's pushed it right wing. I think he's pushed it left wing, really. Um, like for real, we just keep redefining left and right. But if we really want to get down to it, people aren't going to church more. I'm going to church, but people aren't in general, right? People aren't really, necessarily wanting to fight abortion anymore. Abortion, people want those rights back if they don't have them, and if they do have them, they're fighting tooth and nail to keep them. So like literally, my state, which usually is red in a lot of things, voted Democrat for the Supreme Court because of abortion issues. Okay, that Supreme Court justice, everyone said Elon or Trump or whatever, it's because of abortion. Like, literally, it was a single party issue. I mean, a single policy issue. Women wanted abortion rights in the state, and they didn't have them. The Supreme Court justice promised them, and so now they get it. Like it's that simple, guys. And this isn't really an okay response. All this is doing is making like everything about LA kind of just suck, right? It's just making shit worse. And of course, another thing is, right, like what does this do? What is the point of this? Right now, I will say one thing because I understand a bit of history. Do you want to know why Hitler rose to power instead of Iron Front when Iron Front was winning? Well, it turns out Iron Front, lost because guys like these viewed them the same as they viewed the Nazis, and both as fascists. The capitalist Iron Front was viewed as Nazis the same as the actual Nazis. And so the Nazis won because these guys were dipshits, and Iron Front's solution to the situation was, okay, we'll just have private property rights and all that, right? We'll have corporations and companies and people provide better services and things than Weimar is doing, and that'll solve the issue, right? Hitler just said, we're going to kill everyone who's causing all these issues, and that's what's going to happen. And who won, right? He won because of this bullshit that Antifa was doing. If Antifasciste Action just shut the fuck up and didn't try to attack everyone, Hitler wouldn't have ever risen to power. We would have never known what fascism was in Germany. We would still in Italy, though. I don't really know what led to it in Italy, to be fair. I need to study that. I should ask Metatron for some stuff on that. But yeah, Hitler rose to power pretty much primarily because of so-called anti-fascist groups declaring capitalism fascist instead of just fascism fascist. And look, guess what happened? 70 million people died. 6 million Jews, about 4 million others, whether it was Native Romani, gay, or trans, whatever, right? And then 60 plus million people from famine and other deaths caused by World War II. You got 70 fucking million deaths. 70 million. It's a lot. It's a fucking lot, guys. That's what this behavior caused. So if Trump actually is a fascist, he's holding back just to look like the good guy in this. Guess what? You're letting it happen by doing this shit. And if he isn't, then why are you doing this? Right? Either he is a fascist, in which case the best thing you're doing, the most you are doing is just delaying the inevitable and being a useful idiot. And if he's not, then you're just going to make an actual fascist appear. Either you're the boy who cried fascist, or you're the boy who didn't take fascism seriously. Regardless, you're acting like fucking kids. When Nick Shirley is the reasonable person in a video, you guys fucked up. Okay, Nick Shirley is a fucking clown. Okay, Like, I usually laugh at this guy's videos. I'm on his side for fucking once, okay? Like you guys gotta know how much this guy had to have done fucked up, right? Like, these guys had to done fucked up for me to side with Nick fucking Shirley of all fucking people, okay?
Throwing bricks at the police.
But yeah, this is not okay. Like, these names obviously highlights, and it takes a while for it to get to that.
This
But
is
doesn't
our
fucking
city,
matter.
and this was Mexico. You can't kick us out of the land that was ours.
Yeah, it's like all this kind of bullshit. And yeah, it's edited because, some people actually do get serious injuries and stuff. This is just stupidity. I'm not even gonna call it disgusting or evil. I'm gonna call it retarded. I'm gonna call it what it is. You know what the thing is? These people are being manipulated. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think these people would be bad people and do this if they weren't easily manipulated by their media. That's what it is. A lot of it is media manipulation by bad actors causes these people to freak the fuck out after constant lies, telling them all this bullshit into their ear. I'm on Blue Sky. I see a lot of that bullshit in real time, by the way, because of me being on Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky because it's the best place for furry porn right now. But like, you think even like remotely, like, what is happening here, right? A lot of it is bad actors like airbagged and shit on Blue Sky, fucking like lying to people all fucking goddamn day. Like, that's what it is. It's fucking airbag kind of bullshit. Yeah, I never liked Airbag, obviously. I follow him for two reasons. One, to see what the fuck he's talking about. And two, because I kind of used to find, like, him making fun of Grums funny. I used to, right? Then it just became A-logging, right? Like, when it was, at first, it was funny as fuck. Now he's an A-logger of Grums, right? Where Grums is Grums is a lolcow and a piece of shit, but Airbag is an even bigger lolcow and piece of shit because he just won't leave him the fuck alone. Like, I don't fucking care. He's a fat fucking retard who used to be cool 20 fucking years ago. I get it. It's funny to make fun of him. Sometimes. Sometimes it's funny to make fun of him. He used to be cool, and now he's a fucking fat loser that nobody really respects. Some people pretend to respect him for 5 fucking minutes just to steal his money. Because they think he steals money, so he doesn't really deserve it anyway. And it's fine. I think that's all fine and dandy. He's a fucking loser. Right? You can make fun of him for being a loser. You can't even make a fucking, tech demo in 8 years. He's a fat loser. He's worthless, right? I am too. People can make fun of me all the time, right? I enjoy people being able to make fun of me, right? But that's the thing, right? It's the same with Asmongold. Asmongold doesn't really assume he's like this big shot or anything. Asmongold assumes hey, yeah, I'm a dude who lives in a dirty fucking room. I look like shit all day, and I live like shit, and I eat like shit. Pretty much every aspect of my life is shit, and I say edgy things that are kind of shitty sometimes. And that's Asmongold for you, right? He's acknowledges that though, and he doesn't really care. But that's Asmongold. He knows that nothing. He's not really doing anything of value. But also, I will quote Synthetic Man. Why would he? Right? What way would that benefit him? Right? Because nowadays, it's really not beneficial to work a fucking job anyway. That's an issue we need to talk about. Why is it that jobs don't actually help you anymore? Why is it that being a fucking worthless streamer, just playing video games and making fun of dumb people all day, is more productive for a person to do than work at a construction plant? Why? Or make a AAA video game, or work at McDonald's, or anything actually productive. Why is it that Asmongold is worth more? That's the thing is, it's not that Asmongold shouldn't be worth something. I think he is worth what he gets paid. It's fun, right? He's an entertainer primarily. The issue is that he's put above everyone else, not by himself, not by his fans, but by the system we're in. right? Like he's not choosing to do that he's not choosing the fact that it's easier for him to fucking just be a fucking neat all day, rather than actually do something productive. He's not choosing that. He might choose to not be productive, but he's not choosing the fact that him being unproductive all day is better for him in society than actually working at society. That's not his choice. That's society's choice. That's boomers' choices. That's like all these big corporations' choices. And everyone's like, oh, AI is the problem, or oh, like this president's the problem. It's a societal systemic issue that's mostly about classism. The fucking gigantic rich people, right? It's not left versus right. It's elite versus not elite. And all these people don't understand that. By the way, do you know why Trump was even voted for? Because he's not part of that political elite. Although he is rich as fuck, he's just not part of the political elite, right? That's why we voted for him over Kamala and Hillary, and why people who voted for him in 2020 still voted for him in that year, right? Now, there's people who say the election was slow. I don't agree with that. I think it's just people were actually just legitimately pissed off enough at Trump because of media lies and shit. Like, people forget, a lot of the grifter spheres were not actually popular in 2020. They didn't really get popular until 2022, 2023. It's like post-COVID, they got popular again. But during COVID, they were kind of like losers again, right? Right, like the quartering, no one fucking gave a shit about what he said in 2020. No one gave a flying fuck about Steven Crowder in 2020. Think anyone listened to Daily Wire? No, we were all listening to actual good shit in 2020, right? 2020 actually had some good YouTube content on it, right? So we just didn't fucking listen to any of that shit, right? No one would. But then, like, Biden just kept fucking everything up. And, a lot of people just seemed disingenuous at that point, who were even remotely defending him. And so everyone moved back to Trump, because it's like, well, if everyone's completely disingenuous and like about Biden, even saying that like his term was great, like you had like fucking Xander and Voss saying, "Oh, Biden's actually really been really good for the economy." The past couple of years, the past 4 years. You know how many people believed them? Zero. There are zero people who believed you guys. You guys lied the most dumbest fucking lie in anyone could ever have seen. No one fucking fell for that shit. Not a single person. Congratulations, you told the most blatant lie ever and got caught because it's that fucking blatant. By everyone. There is not a single person in any of these people's audiences who respected them after that. Because why would they? That is the most dumb fucking lie. They're not even in trouble for lying. There's plenty of people who lie, but they're in trouble for lying badly, right? That Drake and Josh quote, right? Like, it's just so fucking obvious that it's a fucking lie. Don't fucking lie that obvious. What do you get out of that? Like, what's the fucking point? That's like telling people that the fucking, the fucking sky is red. And unless you're fucking, like, extremely colorblind, no one fucking says that. We all know the sky is blue. Some people might think the sky is green because they got a bit of color blindness, or maybe there's an aurora borealis in the sky. Or maybe they'll say it's black because it's nighttime. But otherwise, the sky is blue, motherfucker, is a pretty universal statement that everyone will say. Right? And no one's fucking saying it's red. No one. Because people who have it where they see red, they know that they still know that they just see everything in red, so they'll be like, well, everything's red for me. Because if you're seeing blue and like light blue is red and not even like a little pinkish, there's something fucked up in your eyes, real bad, right? Because people will still be able to know the difference between blue and pink. I mean red and pink, right? So if the sky is cyan, it's not going to be red, it's going to be pink, right? No one's going to say the sky is red, because that's just the wrong everything, right? You got the wrong hue, you got the wrong chroma, you got the wrong value, you got the wrong chroma, you got the wrong saturation, you got the wrong value, right? It's just all of that is wrong. If the hue, the saturation, and the value are completely fucked up, no one's gonna fucking believe you're honest, right? Because no one has eyes that are that fucked up, except like at all, right? Pretty much, I think a good way to say it, value is pretty universal, right? Lighter lights appear lighter than darker lights. It's how things are. That's how your eyes work. You might have a bit of a gray scale. You might see less values of gray than other people as you get older or whatever, but everyone fucking sees that, the sky would at least be brighter in the day, when the sun's out and there's no cloud in the sky, than like nighttime, right?
LA has erupted over the past few days as ICE officials came in.
Again, speaking of blue sky, right? And this is another thing, right? I don't really mind. Oh yeah, I don't really get that. Really, there's no chat. This isn't live, but I don't really mind people protesting. I don't think that they are. I don't count this as a protest though anymore. Now, to be fair, I made fun of the other guy. I made fun of that guy because like he's a retard. That's why. Yeah, like that's ultimately the thing. I make fun of this guy for being a dumbass half the time too. But I mean, hell, first off, this guy is actually risking his life. Like, goddamn, dude, you are fucking. Like, usually this guy doesn't do this kind of thing. I'm like, honestly, like, goddamn, dude, you fucking like are going wild today. Like, you could have died there probably if any of these guys were actually like.
The past few days have been wild here.
If any of these guys actually like, if this guy was who he was with, he'd probably fucking be dead or something.
On the streets of LA, cars have been burnt, intersections have been taken over.
Like, I will say this, I am glad that they're destroying just the police station this time. They are definitely better than the fucking BLM riots. I can tell you that. They're not BLM. I can tell you who isn't there. Because BLM was never disorganized. Like, this is all police that they're going
State
after.
officials
That is one thing I will say. Only one person even gave a shit about this guy's existence, and it was like some fucking weirdo in the middle.
The footage you're
like,
about to see is absolutely insane. The police are coming through right now. Speak no more and get into the video. Everyone's out here
like this
protesting
guy
right now. ICE came through.
Like this guy in like 9 minutes in is a fucking asshole. But everyone else, it's like, no, they don't even fucking acknowledge his existence if they don't like
Here
him.
for my family.
And if they do, they're just like talking.
Right here you
Just
have
say what
the
they say, they
National
don't
Guard.
give a shit.
They've come through. You have troops, about 300.
But look, they're attacking. Like, I will say this, I will commiserate them on one thing. They're not destroying the hospitals, they're not destroying, like, their uncle's liquor store or anything like that. They're destroying cops and cops' cars. I will commemorate that alone. At least these people know who their enemy is. I don't think they know why they're their enemy, but they know who it is.
About 2,000 people. There's groups of 300.
Except for that one guy at 9 minutes. Like, that guy just seems like a fucking cunt, right?
Around the city
But everyone
right
else seems to know, yeah, if you're in uniform right now, if you're in a police uniform, fuck you, okay. I don't think that's okay mindset to think, but I will commemorate that at least their enemy is pretty, like, they have an enemy, and they were fighting it.
Is outside of the federal building here at one of the ICE detention centers here in LA.
But I still won't pretend like this is okay. For more than just making fun of, like, actually, like, retarded people. But it's easier to empathize with someone, going out there and actually, like, doing the hard work. But yeah.
The National Guard.
And why do
Like,
you
this is another thing. They're saying exactly who it is. The National Guard, ICE, and Trump, maybe sometimes. But they're not really saying, and sometimes they'll even say, fuck Gavin Newsom, right? They're not really saying, like they're like liquor stores or anything. They're not saying people who own private property. So it's a bit different on the. I will say this: the dialogue is a lot different than BLM. This is way more organized. They know who they want and they know why they want it. I don't agree with this, but I at least will commend them that they know who their fucking enemies are.
Here today.
I don't think that they actually know why they're each other's enemies, but at least they know the who. That's a bit more than most of these have gone.
We don't have a president that can lead.
What fears you most about Donald Trump and the ICE raids coming through here in Los
I don't
Angeles?
fear that motherfucker. Have you seen our
I
community?
will say this. I agree with him there. I don't think Donald Trump can lead. I think he's a better leader than Kamala would have been, but that's not saying much. Like when I went to Eric July's cat on like the Big Beautiful Bill because he didn't really like it either. I said like Donald Trump is like basically like Donald Trump is basically right is basically what would happen if like he was the best option and he still sucks, right? So like the point was like Kamala would have been even worse and all of this. It's not that I like Trump, it's that this was the best we could do, folks. And like that is the thing. I don't like Trump at all either. I'm just saying this is the best we could fucking do. I'm saying it's sad that Trump was the best we could fucking do. That's what I say. It's sad that Trump is the best we could do. Because he is the best we could do, but it's sad. It's sad as fuck. He should not be the best we could do. We should have someone who can unite and lead and all that a lot better. And not treat it like it's a joke to troll people all the time online, and just take the job a bit more seriously, while also not trying to obtain like a guerrillion amounts of power for the federal state. What Biden and Bush did, and a bit of Obama, but not an air. Funnily enough, Obama didn't do it nearly as bad as Bush did. It's not even a party thing, although I guess you could argue it is, because the one Trump's technically a Democrat with an R next to his name rather than a Republican. Same with Tulsi Gabbard, right? Same with RFK. I don't really like RFK at all, to be honest, but hey, same with Elon Musk. I don't like him because he's a pedophile, right? So
I don't feel that motherfucker.
Donald Trump, homeboy on a motherfucking real that piece of shit.
What's the water for?
Diffuse tear gas. If needed. Yeah. If you throw a canister in one of these, it should diffuse it enough, or at least stop the chemical reaction.
that's the thing. They do actually kind of know a lot of shit.
What makes you want to come out here with the Honduras flag out here?
I mean, these are my roots right here, This is where my family came from. I'm a first gen.
A lot of people wonder on social media, why are people coming out here with other nationalities' flags? If they don't like America, why don't they go back to
I love America and what it represents. The idea of America to our people is a better future and an opportunity to have a job and create something that in our homes we don't have, So we love America. We want to be here. We want to contribute, And I agree, the people that have committed crimes and, like an actual crime, murder, something like that, I can agree with that. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say, no, keep everybody here.
Yeah.
But the people who are here, hardworking people.
Right now, do you think it's right for them to go after the most dangerous people like they say they're doing?
I mean, I don't see nobody here has attacked them. And they initiated all of this.
Yeah, that's obviously a lie. I don't really know why you're bringing that up.
Peacefully protesting. They're the ones that come out with riot shields. They come out with billy clubs and all kinds of shit. I don't know who's the aggressor.
Because their job is to de-escalate the situation. That's why they're coming out with riot shields and billy clubs and not fucking assault rifles. If they wanted to kill you, why are their only weapons loaded with rubber bullets? Right, rubber bullets can kill you if you're shot enough, especially at a close enough range. And they hurt like a motherfucker. They do damage. Like there is one person that probably has a really bad, serious injury that could get infected. He could die if it gets infected. I will say that. It looks pretty nasty. If he doesn't get infected, he's fine. But it's in his stomach and it's pretty nasty looking. And which means it's not like he would die if it's just not infected. But if he gets infected, that can kill him.
Here,
his stomach, it's like this big circle chunk. And it's a little light, right? It's only surface layer, but there's blood vessels that pop. Right, and it's a wide enough injury that I don't know how long it'll take to heal the blood vessels.
What's your message to the police officers in the
They could get infected.
They've got a
and die,
choice.
right?
They've got a choice.
But
They don't have to do
like
this.
you can still
That's
die
it.
from
They can
other
either be
bullets,
American
and that
citizens
guy-
or they can be
They could.
what they're
I don't
doing right
think
now.
He will, but he probably
You don't
could,
think they're
right?
acting like as American citizens?
And that's got to be
you
a
think they're
thing,
trying to
no,
protect the
right?
country or make it a more
But the
dangerous
fact of the
place?
matter is, they're using ammo
What
designed
do you
to
mean?
be
Like, this is
non-lethal.
way beyond what it needs to be.
Should be kind of
Something's
the thing,
about to break
right?
out
That you
real soon.
realize, right?
If these people keep taunting the police officers,
If
with all
if
these
Trump
other
was a
flags,
fascist, why would he use ammunition that's designed to not kill you? If he just wanted you dead, he'd just kill you, you know? Like, he has enough from this. The media isn't really able to keep up its lies anymore about any of this being peaceful. Right?
all these other
The only
words.
thing they can really do is, say this is their home and shit, and they just want to be here, and, they're really scared that and this is ultimately the thing, right? The media is stirring up this shit. A lot of these people would not be like this if the media was honest to them. That's why I feel bad about this situation, right? Because most of these people are probably good people if the media didn't lie to them and make them bad people. You know what I mean? Like, most of these people don't even want to be here either. Most of these people just want to fucking go back to work because they actually have jobs there in LA. We don't really have some in my area, but they have jobs in LA. Most people just want to go to work, go through their 9 to 5, talk to their customers, etc., and go home and order their bad dragon dildos or whatever, right? And just be happy. But they can't right now. But not because they actually can't, but because the media is making them scared. And this is pretty fucked up. I legitimately do think CNN and all that should be fucking tried. Like, it's just disgusting. And also, like, a lot of people like airbagged on Blue Sky who, maybe it was through brainwashing for several years or even decades. But, he's believed it so long he becomes a lying influence himself. Like, he believes his lies are good because they lead people. You get the idea, right? So I think he does truly believe, because I think, like, he's not like a big media type, but he basically says what the media wants him to say, effectively. And it's just so many fucking useful idiots.
Saying to these police officers and National Guard, something's about to happen.
You guys suck! Christy Lewis! You guys suck! Donald Trump!
Yeah, I actually fucking agree with this. Fucking just get rid of Gavin Newsom. Just get rid of him.
I can tell
Honestly,
you're very upset.
he's been causing so much shit anyway. You know what? Go to jail and get anally raped, Gavin Newsom. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you, Gavin Newsom. Fucking motherfucker. He didn't help anyone during the LA fires either. He's not helping anyone now.
Of course we are. Yeah,
Like, he's making it. He's not helping them understand that what they think is happening isn't happening. He's not doing anything to diffuse the situation. He's making it worse, just like he did with the Palisade fires, just like he did with a lot of the BLM protests and riots and all that shit. Gavin Newsom doesn't want to de-escalate any of this. He wants to further escalate it to get these people further mad, so they keep doing worse and worse shit, so that he can justify he can justify their deaths happening eventually, and then use that as a way to try to put leverage against Trump in an impeachment trial, in order to try to say, well, okay, Trump had to actually do stuff. And then, funnily enough, when they actually do get ordered to shoot people, another thing I will say is it won't be Trump who will call the order, but Gavin Newsom. This is a thing. Remember, we're dealing with a shady politician versus like a less shady politician. Trump is still shady, but he's less shady than Gavin Newsom. That's just how I view it, right?
We feel some burning in the eyes right now upon arrival here. Everybody be prepared. We still fight for the legalization of all in occupied territories. This was indigenous land. This was Mexico. This is our fucking turf.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers. Free them all!
Stolen people on stolen land. Black people were stolen. and it was taken from the indigenous. Stolen people, stolen land.
What's your message to ICE and to the federal government today?
Just the message, just straight up, is just this government is fucking corrupt as fuck. People need to start realizing that shit. And fucking, we need a fucking factory reset. We need some justice up in here, just for everybody.
The thing is that I don't like is there are people who don't understand what would happen if Trump called, soldiers out, right, to actually shoot these people. Because there are some people, like, if you look far enough, and most people aren't that fucking dumb. But there are some that are calling for these people to just get shot and killed. And I'm just going to say, there's a reason he doesn't do that, because he's not a fucking Nazi. Like, that's why he doesn't do that. He's not that fucking dumb either. Nazis aren't exactly that bright. That's another thing about them, right? That's why another reason I know he's not. He's too like he's not dumb enough to be one, right?
You have lots of tattoos, and people oftentimes interpret tattoos with being part of the gangs and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been checked for gangs or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm focused on some other shit right now. I'm not worried about that, though.
You're not worried about that? No. So essentially all that's happening right now is that ICE, police, DHS, and the National Guard are just holding a line here outside this federal building. Protesters haven't gone back at the police quite yet. We'll see what happens. Could be happening very soon.
This was our land. All this is stolen. And what? Now we're fucking illegal here. Are you fucking kidding me? You're not fighting for. You're not fighting for this country.
We're gonna dox you. We're gonna dox you.
So, like, what, are you gonna talk no jutsu him out of it? Isn't that like you said you couldn't talk no jutsu Hitler? Now you're talk no jutsu and the police, who you think are Hitler. Like, here's the thing, right? If any of these people actually thought that these guys were fascists, they wouldn't be doing this. They would be getting out some Uzis and some Molotov cocktails and some shotguns, like all of that, right? And they'd be fucking blasting, they'd have like whatever rifles and handguns and submachine gun, whatever they own, they would be all out, because some of those guns might not be legal in the state of California, but that don't mean nothing to people who are in gangs, right? So they would all be taking this all out, and all these people would be fucking shooting at each other, and maybe they would win, right? Because there might not be enough to actually do a full scale, an entire city block of people. There might not be enough forces to save that, right? And they just take it all over. Sure. But the reason they didn't is because they don't think these people are fascists. These people don't think these people are fascists, and these people don't think these people should be treated like criminals. That's ultimately the thing. Both of these groups of people are trying to fucking just get the other person to shut the fuck up and sit down and stop it. I get it. I really do. But you gotta understand that maybe you should just be talk no jutsu it out, right? But you should actually believe that you just need to talk no jutsu it out, instead of doing this bullshit where you throw bricks at people and cover them in paint and shit, treating it like some Looney Tunes shit, and then get mad that one of them shoots you with rubber bullets when you assault their car with fucking bricks. No, stop that. Just treat this seriously, and like an adult, you understand what it really is. Some people are probably unnecessarily detained with other people who actually are really bad. You have to face the reality that one of those grannies working in the clothing store, one of those little girls working at the granny's clothing store might not just not be here legally. She might be a slave for that granny. And that's not okay. That's not okay at all. And so when they arrest the grandma and, a lot of people in that store, including, a person who has no affiliation with the grandma sweatshop, then we should talk about the person who had zero affiliation with grandma sweatshop, or make sure that grandma sweatshop is actually a sweatshop and not just they're her kids and they help out at the store. But we need to have those conversations, not this. And we need to actually have conversations, not just like echo chambers. And that's really the thing. All these people want to have one-sided conversations. They want to preach their choir, left and right, all that tribalistic bullshit. And this is not going to end well for anyone. Like, America is in the toilet, and everyone's, talking about how bad the egg prices are, how bad grocery prices are, and stuff like that. But we're not even having that dialogue right now. We're having this fucking dialogue. The dialogue I want to have is, why can't we just fucking keep it at groceries? Why? Like, I was against Trump's tariffs. I still fucking am. But why can't we keep it at that? I don't want shit to be more expensive when it's already too expensive. Let's keep it at that. Let's not drive property values down so that shit gets even more expensive. Let's stop this shit. Let's just be honest. We need fucking groceries to get cheaper. A lot of this would die down, by the way, if groceries were cheaper and rent was cheaper. Because a lot of these people are struggling to even make it ends meet. So they're like, well, if I'm going to be homeless next month, why the fuck do I even give a shit? Why don't I just protest anyway? If doing shit and trying to be somebody, gets me in the same situation as fucking things up and being a piece of shit and a nuisance, maybe I'll get 3 hots and a cot if I go to jail. But that's another thing people are thinking about. And I understand that. And that is fucking awful. But that is really like the meat and potatoes of why this is not okay. Because ultimately that's what this is. A lot of people from various walks of life, various ethnicities and cultural dynamics and all that, are mad because the news told them to be, and they are also mad because their jobs are paying them like shit, treat them like shit, and they just want to live a better life like everyone else. And, no one is fucking ever once talking about the actual narrative that needs to be had, which is why can't we fucking afford anything? Except for, some Gen Z white guys. But then Fox News will mock them for it. Why are Gen Z white guys staying at home, not getting married at 30? Why are they doing, and millennials not getting married at 30? Why are they doing that? Why aren't they just fucking having kids already? I don't know, maybe you should ask why none of us are in houses. Why we're all in single apartments or living with our moms if we're doing anything. Why don't you actually, Karen, why don't you just shut the fuck up and listen to the people who you're making fun of? Because maybe you'll understand that the reason nobody fucking does any of that shit anymore is because there's no point in it. If we did what you did, we'd fucking die. Just straight up. We are in a new industry style because we have to be. No one fucking wants to be. We have to be. I don't make fucking furry porn because I want to make furry porn anymore. I make it because it's the only thing that keeps me doing something at all that makes me money. That's why I do it now. It makes me more money than any of the fucking fast food jobs I could get are ever going to ever offer. Not really. Doesn't really make me that much money anymore either because AI took that. But guess what? It doesn't really matter because they have I actually have a disability home now, so I can just hey, I can't really do anything anymore, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna live off the disability and be a fucking mooch. I got serious injuries, so I can't do physical labor anymore. I'm not really that intelligent, so I can't do mental labor. I don't have a degree anyway. If I at trade school I could go to, but it costs too fucking much money. I can't really do any actual jobs anymore. And why bother? Why? Social Security is going to keep me on living anyway. So there's no fucking point anymore. There's literally no fucking point of even trying. I just say what I say as a blog. I don't do anything criminal. And that's where we go. That's all I got to do. I just follow the law and stay on Social Security my rest of my life. Just be a fucking leech and just wait till everything blows over, hopefully. Maybe the economy gets better. Maybe it doesn't. I don't fucking care anymore. Because you know what? At this point, what's the fucking point? And this is what everyone is thinking. Everyone who is under the age of life expectancy is just wondering, why the fuck are we even really caring about any of this? Like, what's the point, right? Like, and this is ultimately the thing. I get it. They don't even really give a shit about the law, because why would they? The law isn't serving them. Because if the law was serving them, they'd have then getting a job, being law-abiding citizens and stuff, would get them a house eventually, or some form of property of their own, instead of just barely scraping by off rent and groceries. It's not an okay lifestyle that we have to basically be forced to live in. But this is the reality of the world. This is where this is the reality we're forced to live in. And we're just kind of forced to accept this as well. This is the new okay. So, you know what? Honestly, you want to know what I hope actually comes out of this? People start having the conversation of, why is it that every single time it's always a bunch of lower middle class and poor people? They're always doing this. And every single time, we always drive the conversation off of things, right? It could, like, there are other issues, obviously, single fatherhood and stuff like that cause people to do, like, crimes of theft and stuff a lot, and drug dealing and stuff. When it comes to this stuff, it's not even that. It's that people are just fed up with how fucking shit their life is. So maybe we should actually be having a conversation. How do we make people's life not shit anymore? Maybe we should be trying to lift each other up for fucking once. But now we gotta tear each other down because everyone's acting like a retard. I get it. We're not ever gonna have that conversation because it's boring. The conversation's boring. We're not gonna have it because it's less fun, and this is the internet, and we're not gonna ever not have a fun conversation. But ultimately, someone has to. And this is ultimately the thing. It would be fine if the internet was doing it, if the fucking Karens weren't also doing it. Someone's got to have the conversation that needs to be had instead of the internet conversation. The internet is for entertainment. It's for learning and entertainment. So if the internet wants to be fun and educational, that's fine. They can do it. But why the fuck is the news media, which isn't supposed to be sensationalized? That's fucking stupid. And it needs to fucking stop. But that's what the situation we're in. We're not having the dialogue we need to have because everyone's treating everything like it's fucking 4chan. And 4chan's fine at 4chan. But 4chan needs to be fucking 4chan and nowhere else, right? The rest of the world can't be 4chan. The world doesn't function if everyone is 4chan. It functions if 4chan is a containment zone, right? It's same thing like Tumblr, right? Tumblr is great as Tumblr. Once it stops being Tumblr, it stops being a containment zone, right? And now the world is flooded with Tumblrites. It's the same thing with 4chan. And people don't seem to understand that, right? They're just making the world worse. They're making everything suck because they want to be 4chan. They want to have this no rules, no conversation. No real conversation. Everyone just harasses each other all day. Bullshit. And that's fine on 4chan because that's what you go there for. That's what it's for. But if you're on Twitter, you're trying to do a job, right? Well, now it's like, well, you use pronouns bio. That means he's trans, even though actually, as someone who worked at a company before that didn't have any knowledge of trans issues in 2007, and had to do that on my actual Twitter with my real name on it while working for the company. That was a thing companies did. It's sort of like how Starbucks always had pronouns in the name tags, and most other places too. That was just normal. You just did that because you were told to. Right? It had nothing to do with trans issues. Another thing is people didn't really have trouble with trans stuff back in the day either. Remember Lilo and Stitch? Now everyone's upset they got rid of the trans stuff from it. They got rid of fucking Pleakley's being an ant and like dressing up as a girl half the fucking time. And like that was the thing. It was called Ant Pleakley. He's a dude. It's called Ant Pleakley, right? So it's basically trans stuff. It's like everyone's like, oh, but cross-dressing isn't trans. It's adjacent enough to it that we might as well fucking start acting like it is, right? It's basically the same thing, right? Femboys are like, what's the difference between a femboy and a trans woman? Like, what is the real difference? Well, besides like the fucking trans activists, once you get rid of the blue hair lane whales, what's the difference? None. I guess like femboys just admit it's a fetish, maybe, but like that's about it. Like other than femboys being openly saying it's just a fetish for them, which it's not always for a trans person, I guess. So maybe that's the difference. Maybe like femboys are always a fetish, whereas trans women sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sure, maybe that's what it is. But yeah, other than that, it's basically the same fucking thing. You're a dude wearing women's clothing. And sometimes you even get called female pronouns because of it. Like Odo Konoko, where you call them female pronouns, but they're a dude in a dress. So if we're going to say that's what it is, well then femboys are trans. Right? Either you have to admit that there's something different, there's something actually different from trans women and femboys, or you have to admit they're the same fucking thing. So you gotta think really like logically there. Either there is an actual substantial difference, or there isn't. If there isn't, then they're the same fucking thing. If there is, then define it, right? And the only thing people can ever come up with is, if a femboy isn't an Odo Konoko, but a normal femboy who uses, male identifying pronouns. Well, or I guess you could say that femboys do it as a job. So they'd be like drag queens, effectively, that are just hotter and that's more macabre, instead of just normal, it's not normal. Instead of like trans women who fully identify as it all the time in their life, right? So those are the two, right? Either they fully identify as trans or they only half identify as trans, maybe. Like that's what we'll say, right? One is trans for pay, one is queer for pay, one is just queer, right? That would be the only fucking difference you could ever make. And that's only if the femboy is only doing it for a job, right? So at this point, like, really, with legally, it's not really that, right? So we gotta think, what do these things actually fucking mean? Because if you're saying it means one thing, and then when that example happens, you're saying that's not that example, you're just being a lying piece of shit, right? But anyway, right, my point with that really is that back in the day, no one really gave a shit about any of this. We started giving a shit about this late into Obama's term, like second term, right? Due to like a bunch of like media meddling in all of our shit, right? And what I actually remember after the 4chan hackers who were doing stuff at Occupy, that's when a lot of things started changing. After those guys got arrested, Occupy Wall Street became like this far left commie gobbledygook movement instead of what it originally was, which was an anti bank and anti BlackRock movement. Then we had like Gamergate, which was originally about a scam artist who was grifting off of the death of Robin Williams, Zoe Quinn, but it quickly devolved into some bullshit about 5 guys fucking her or whatever, and eventually like no one just fucking cared because yeah, why would we? Like at that point, it's like what's the fuck? Like when it was her grifting off of Robin Williams' suicide, everyone was on board. But then it quickly got psyoped to, oh, she's a whore. I don't fucking care if she's a whore. Fuck do I give a shit about that? And then it's like feminist frequency was kind of annoying. And then now a lot of the anti-woke crowd are agreeing with her. Saying the same fucking talking points, right? Like Melanie Mack and Razorfist. And JD, whatever the John De La Rose, the fucking furry guy, and John Trent. Like, now they're just repeating the same talking points that Anita Sarkeesian would do. Just from, like, a conservative perspective instead of a feminist one. And so we keep going through all these stages, and it's like so much shit is psyop. Words don't mean anything anymore. And so that's why this is happening. Because everyone's corrupting everyone's language. Instead of just saying, okay, this word means this thing, let's keep it that fucking way. And you know what? It's just going to keep getting worse. It's not really going to get better. It's never going to get better from this point. Because people would have to collectively think, oh yeah, we actually have to stop fucking being bullshit. We have to stop being retarded. And that's never going to happen. So really, there is no solution to this problem. We're at the point where we're in the end game now. It's never going to get better. It's going to keep getting worse. Until we just can't deal with it anymore. You know, like, basically, like, I'm just going to be honest. If Trump was, like, the last hurrah, the next election will decide how America kills itself.